Hey everybody, it's Friday. Welcome to Warrior Daily. Tom Gorman, and joining me is Sean Peters, the head coach of the swimming and diving program here at Wayne State. And coach, I think first and foremost, congratulations are in order for a very successful GLIAC Championships just a few weeks ago. Your team sweeping once again the women's and men's championships, taking home some individual hardware as well as a few GLIAC titles in there, and even yourself being named Coach of the Year. So just congratulations all around.
Well, thanks, Tom. Certainly there was a lot of preparation all year that went into that, and both programs, while achieving the same result, had very different routes to get to that result. Our women's team certainly, came out with a very strong lead. I believe a 66-point lead after day one, and just kept going. I mean, I believe that they were just on a roll. And our men, we were sixth place after day one with a disqualification in the medley relay, but really, I mean, they just never gave up. I mean, and certainly their performances showed on that. So I was very pleased, even though, once again, two different routes to the same goal.
Yeah, you mentioned, and I'd love to talk about that, the route that the men's team took to the GLIAC Championships. Fell behind early on, obviously a DQ'd relay, and your team had to come back from a little bit of adversity. After that first day, what was your message to them?
Well, that was the nice thing is the leaders of the team actually were the ones that provided that message, and they knew that what I was going to say. I mean, it's 4 days, anything can happen, and certainly you just got to never really get too high or too low. And but they've, before we went to dinner, they had a little team meeting on the bus and talked things out, and certainly, the vibe on the team was, this is far from over, which they're right. And so, I was very proud of our team leadership.
Well, and every senior for the swimming program that we've talked to for our senior spotlights here on Warrior Daily, when you ask them about some of their favorite moments of their career, every single one said the year that both teams won the GLIAC Championships, because when it's just the men or just the women, it can be a little bit bittersweet because you want both teams there. So certainly everybody had to be pretty pumped up.
Oh, for sure. And but certainly, even though with the men, I mean, they really didn't establish the lead until diving on the very last day. I mean, we were trailing all the way up to that point, and certainly, always just trying to claw back a little bit more. But really, it was to second to last event, the men, had that lead and were able to hold on.
Well, let's get into what's coming up next week. The NCAA Division II Championships taking place just outside of Dallas. Another 4-day extravaganza of swimming and diving, and this is really what you train all year for, Sean. And I know you've actually got a pretty good contingent going down there too, Texas, 21 altogether. Things a little leaning on the women's side in terms of the selections that went towards Wayne State, but how did you feel about your representation?
Well, certainly it's getting tougher to get the qualifications in there. I mean, not only are the A times much faster than they ever have been, but the quality athlete in Division II is just rose significantly, even from last year, which was significant over the year before that. So it's a different Division II in the past 2 years, and a very competitive one. And so for a program to even get, like on our men's side, get a half a dozen qualifiers, 3 of which were individual, 3 of which were from a relay, that's actually on average, or maybe even slightly above average. So I'm pleased with where they're at, and I certainly think that all the individuals on the men's side can make a significant impact. The women's side, 9 swimmers that ended up getting qualified, and I also feel the same way about them. It's just that every one of those 9 have a role, and they're going to be able to establish themselves at nationals. And then, of course, getting 3 divers on both genders, and the women's divers are some of the best in the country, and I believe we have some of the best on the men's side as well.
Yeah, and there's certainly some standouts for both the men's and women's teams that people want to keep an eye on. Of course, on the men's side, much is made about Andre Suri and his contributions to this program over the last couple of years. He's the defending champion in all 3 sprint freestyle events and is seeded either 1 or 2 in all 3 again going into this year. Several guys are really poised to compete at this level. On the women's side, Kayla Scott will be a force to be reckoned with in the breaststroke. Of course, she just finished behind her former teammate last year in those events, but is seated pretty high as well. And all 5 relays on the women's side, you can expect some big points there.
Yeah, Andre, obviously, Division II Swimmer of the Year in 2011. And he always has high expectations on himself. I mean, he just wants to improve on where he was from last year, and wherever that lands him in the scoring, that's where it lands him. But I know he's really shooting to beat the times that he accomplished last year, which won't be any easy feat. I mean, 2 of them were national records, and the third one was a near national record. Joaquin, certainly an A qualifier in the 400 IM, top 8 candidate for the 200 breaststroke. I think he's seated 10th or something like that right now. And Lucas Fernandez Villanova really did well in the 200 backstroke at the GLIAC meet, making an 8 time there. And then with our 400 free relay, getting 3 people also qualified, like Christian Larson, Kyle Taylor, and Nathan Heshe. A few of those guys have a chance at scoring individual points as well. On the women's side, yeah, Kayla Scott established herself as the top returning breaststroker, has a #1 time going in the 100 breaststroke, and she's in the top 5 or 6 in the 200 breaststroke, which is an improvement there. Carol Azambuja and newly arrived Gloria Martinez Perez are multi-event scorers, I believe, and certainly will be impactful at the national level as well. And certainly there's a whole slew of other girls. Catherine Likes is like top 2 or 3 in the 500 freestyle right now. Brittany Wilkins is top 8 in the 1,000 freestyle. I mean, our distance girls look good, and as I mentioned earlier, diving is going to be crucial to our team success. They were certainly counted on heavily for our GLIAC performances, and I'll certainly be looking to them again.
Both teams have contended for overall national titles over the last several years, and this year will likely be no different. And Sean, will look forward to those of us who aren't fortunate enough to go down to Texas. We'll be watching online through NCAA.com and hoping for some good things for your Warriors. Good luck.
Well, thanks. We're looking forward to Dallas. Never been, and certainly it's going to be a fun time.
All right. Well, enjoy it. And on behalf of Sean Peters, I'm Tom Gorman, wrapping up this edition of Warrior Daily. Have a great weekend.